begin with the words of Albert Schweitzer. At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. When Robin Bennett arrived at my school in the fall of 1987, at the start of my senior year, I was the president of the Young Republicans Club. Founding this club had been, in my mind, mostly a way of getting one more impressive-sounding accomplishment into my already extensive resume of extracurricular activities, of which acting in school plays was one. One day, shortly before the first day of school, a friend and I stopped by the drama office. We had both been kind of a big deal in the regime of the previous theater teacher, and we were curious to know what theater in our senior year would be like under the new boss. We also had a few ideas about what plays should be produced. When we arrived, I remember gazing at the bulletin board outside the drama office. There were a number of computer-printed sheets, still something relatively new at that time, laid out carefully and neatly on the bulletin board. I remember being struck by the fact that on one sheet, the whole season of plays had been planned and announced, and no one had bothered to consult me or any of the other masters. Other sheets stated rules or displayed inspirational quotes, and still others spoke of seasonal companies that we might join. I was standing there dazed, taking it all in, turning it over in my mind, wondering what it could all mean, when Robin walked into the hallway. Walked in is, of course, an understatement. I don't think I have to tell anyone here about her dynamism. She greeted us and we explained that we had been in plays at the school before. She was welcoming and asked us whether we were planning to take theater classes. I presented her with a concern. I had worked very hard and played my cards very carefully, figuring out how to get more AP classes than anyone else, so that I had the highest GPA in my class and would stand the best chances of getting into the schools I was angling for. If I took her class and worked hard, could I be reasonably sure that I would get an A? Robin found a way to respond to my query with a delicacy that I was not always to encounter in my later experiences with her. And mollified, I signed up. I was immediately enthralled. Robin was brash, she wore loud colors, and didn't wear her makeup the way other people in Northern Virginia did. The gay man inside me who had yet to come into his own registered all of this, even if largely unconsciously. But in spite of the ways she seemed foreign, I felt an immediate affinity. In the passion for organization evident on the bulletin board, I recognized someone who also had big plans, and who intended to bring those plans to fruition, to actualize them. When I learned what the company meant, a spirit of collectivism, almost totally absent in late 80s Northern Virginia, there was no looking back. High school was full of hierarchies, and I felt like I had mostly suffered under them. The company structure, at least in principle, implied a collegiality and a sense of shared purpose and mutual respect that had been almost totally absent from my high school experience. My young mind, steeped as it was in the ardent individualism of conservative thought, understood for almost the first time what it was to feel connected to something larger than myself. From this experience alone, my way of looking at life and the world would never be the same. Robin took us and our latent potential very, very seriously. She confronted us when we offered evasions, which came fast and thick in our first few months with her. She insisted we take responsibility for our work and for the work of the group as a whole. She was deeply committed to the forming of ensembles. All of this was something altogether different from what any of us had experienced before. I can think of a piano teacher I had had when I was younger who was as challenging as Robin, but that challenge was limited in scope to a single endeavor. I'd had good teachers in academic subjects, but they were concerned with our intellectual growth first, and who we were as people second, if at all. With Robin, it was the whole enchilada. She lived and breathed integrity, and sought to infect the rest of us with her passion. She cared not only about how we performed in a play, she cared a lot about that, but also about how we comported ourselves towards our work and towards each other. She was engaged in attempting to transmit an ethos of absolute dedication to the project at hand. What was implicit in all of this was her belief in the power of each of us to shape our own lives and make a difference in the lives of others. To count. To matter. It was nothing short of intoxicating. I was so much in Robin's thrall that my mother finally felt compelled to make a new rule. No discussion of Miss Bennett at the dinner table. As someone who in my previous year had begun to awaken to a passion for literature, I found great inspiration in Robin. Her full-on commitment to doing plays well bespoke a belief in the importance and power of the imagination and storytelling. She was always ready to talk about ideas, not as academic knowledge to be exhibited, but as representatives of different approaches to life in all its manifestations. This was also something mostly new. An adult who valued my thinking for something beyond its implications for my professional future. Robin was really interested in what we thought and what we had to say. She believed that big ideas were for everyone. She would have had to believe that, to think that high school students could feel engaged by and rise to the challenge of Euripides, Chekhov, Shakespeare, and Brecht. Robin was possessed of insatiable curiosity and boundless energy. She and I stayed in close touch through all my college years, and she came to visit me at Duke and watched a play that I didn't even appear in there just to see what the work was like. When I went to live in Berlin after college, she was the only person in my entire circle of friends and family who came to visit me. She was always open to hearing about new writers or new ideas. This further attests to the seriousness with which she took the people around her. She knew a lot, but she also knew there was a lot more to know. Her curiosity persisted into her last years, during which I actually ended up doing workshops over the phone with her and her students here at Jones to share some of the approach to acting that I had encountered in the directing program at the Yale School of Drama. With the enormous amount she had seen and accomplished, it would have been easy to assume that there was nothing new under the sun and that no one else had anything to teach her. But this was not Robin's way. As I write this, it comes back to me that she several times mentioned her enthusiasm for Plato's conviction that life is a classroom, and that our purpose in life is to learn and to share what we had learned with others. It was a conviction she lived with every fiber of her being, every second of every day. We are the very fortunate heirs to her knowledge, her passion, and her love.